In the wilderness, no skill is more likely to save your life than being able to make a fire, regardless of the season. Fire is an absolute necessity when in the wild. It's an imperative that you carry at least 3 fire starting methods in your pack at all times, just in case one or even 2 are to fail you. You should always have multiple options for starting a fire, and redundancy is key. Fire is necessary for things such as keeping wild animals away from your camp, boiling water, cooking, food, warmth, smoke signaling, as well as giving you and others a psychological boost. In this video, we're going to be discussing some of the earliest fire starting methods used by early man up to modern material to easily ignite your campfire. So a lighter is a portable method that can be used to create a flame. It can be used to light any sort of combustible material on fire. A lighter consists of a metal or plastic container filled with flammable fluid or pressurized liquid gas, an ignition source to produce a flame, and a method to extinguish the flame. This fire starting method is extremely simple as well as effective. It takes a very low amount of skill to use. The drawback to this fire starting method is that wind and cold can severely inhibit using a lighter, and moisture will also prevent this from being used, as well as the limited amount of fuel contained in a lighter can be a very large drawback. However, the lighter is lightweight, simple, and a very effective tool to always carry in a pack. Our rating? Easy. The flint, pyrite, and steel striker starting methods are an old method that date back to the very early Iron Age. With these methods, the flint strikes the steel and shaves off small pieces of metal that will become superheated by friction. When struck over a small pile of tinder, these superheated pieces of metal will catch the tinder on fire. The fire starting method is very effective because it could be used regardless of the environment that you need to start a fire in, and moisture isn't a factor. Flint and steel strikers are also very lightweight and durable, making for a truly effective fire starter method that can be easily stored and carried anywhere. Today, instead of using flint and pyrite and marcasite, ferrocerium alloy, known as ferro rod strikers, are in wide use. Ferrocerium is a synthetic pyrophoric alloy that produces hot sparks reaching temperatures of up to 3,000 degrees when rapidly oxidized through striking. Much better than the small amounts of superheated metal that flint, pyrite, or marcasite creates. This is pretty hard. Drill, plow, saw. We're referencing bow drills and hand saws, fire plows, and fire saws. These methods of fire starting are some of the oldest known to man. These basic principles of physics, which is friction. When creating fire, one of the best ways to achieve an ember is by using friction to create heat. This is accomplished by rubbing 2 objects together, which causes combustion and leads to a fire. These methods for starting fire are most simple and require the least amount of tools. However, these fire starting methods can be very time consuming and take a lot of energy to create a fire with, but the necessary tools can be found in almost any environment. This is a beneficial and necessary fire starting method just to know in case no other tools for alternate methods are available. I'd recommend practicing these skills frequently so they can be mastered. Our rating? Hard. Soaking cotton balls with petroleum jelly can be an amazing addition to your pack, especially when considering a fire starting method in an emergency situation. This particular method for starting a fire has proven to be effective in many different environments, whether you're facing wind and rain or cold temperatures. This is an extremely reliable method to start a fire no matter what you are or where you're at. Making these is as simple as using them. Simply heat up some petroleum jelly to the point of melting and then put the cotton balls into a container until they absorb all of the petroleum jelly. The more saturated the cotton balls are, the longer they're going to burn. I'd recommend putting these into a plastic baggie after they're saturated and then storing all of them inside a small metal tin to put in your pack. Our rating? Easy. Fire pistons, or fire syringes, originated in Southeast Asia. The fire starting method used the principle of heating gas over air by rapid and adiabatic sealed system compression of the air or gas in order to ignite a piece of tinder. This cylinder is sealed after placing tinder on the face, right there. The fire piston needs to be slammed against a hard surface, which causes compression, superheating the internal air at a rapid pace, causing the internal temperature to increase to over 400 degrees Fahrenheit. This heat buildup causes the tinder at the piston face to ignite with a flash. Once that happens, the tinder can be removed from the piston and put onto a larger pile of tinder and kindling. R rating? Hard. Matches were created around 1400 years ago by the Chinese and are a common method used by most people for starting a fire. These are versatile, easy to use, and require very low skill. They're typically made of paper or small sticks of wood with one end coated in a combustible chemical, which is ignited by frictional heat generated by striking the match against a very hard surface. Matches can be a very effective fire starting method due to their versatility, low required skill for use. We recommend that you carry waterproof matches at all times. R rating? Easy. A magnifying glass, or really any clear lens, can be used to start a fire. Sunbeams carry photons, and photons carry energy. By positioning the magnifying glass over a pile of combustible material such as tinder, you're focusing these energy particles onto a point, increasing the energy buildup and heat creation. As long as the sun's rays are hot enough and the tinder is dry enough, then eventually you're going to heat the tinder to the combustion point of 400 degrees Fahrenheit and cause a fire. The rating? Hard. Fat wood is a term for coniferous pine wood that is full or fat with resin that contains terpene, a volatile hydrocarbon. Because of this terpene content, fat wood makes a great fire starter, and it's easy to find in the wilderness. Most of the time it's found in the stumps of dead pine trees. Usually there's going to be a yellow or golden color to the stump. When a tree dies, especially if it's cut down, the resins in the tree roots comes up and settles in the stump, saturating it. As the roots and the stump rots away, the heartwood in the middle of the stump becomes thoroughly impregnated with the resin. This process can take 10 years or more, but there's a lot of dead trees in a forest. Fat wood ignites quickly, even when it's wet, and is wind resistant, burns hot enough to ignite other items quickly. You can even shave off bits with your knife to form some tinder for your spark to catch. The resin-soaked wood tends to burn quickly with an oily, thick smoke, so don't cook over a fire until the fat wood's burned off. R rating? Pretty easy. Battery and steel wool. This concept is innovative yet simple. All you're going to need is some steel wool and 9-volt battery in order to start a fire with this method. In order for this to properly work, you're going to want to use a very fine or thin steel wool. You can use a ferro rod as sparks to also ignite the steel. Simply place the battery on the steel wool, completing an electric current using the metal fibers, which creates heat and ignites the steel wool. Simply place the steel wool on a pile of tinder and you're going to have a fire in no time. This is another effective, low-skill way to quickly start your campfire in a short amount of time. And you don't need to use a 9-volt. R rating? Pretty easy. Gauze and sanitizer can be an effective method to help a fire going if you're facing issues getting your tinder to life. Simply soak a few pieces of gauze with some alcohol-based hand sanitizer, place it underneath your tinder, and light it with a match or lighter. The alcohol-based sanitizer will burn for about a minute or two depending on the amount that's used. This can ensure you get off to a good fire when you're having trouble. R rating? Easy. Hopefully you learned some useful info about fires and the methods of starting them. We want to remind you, be safe with fire in the wilderness. If you don't need a fire, or don't feel comfortable that you can keep it under control, don't build one. We want to thank you for watching the video. If you liked what you saw and learned something, like and subscribe. That way you can be notified when new trails videos publish. You can also follow us on Twitter, and if you're in the Indianapolis area, check out www.WTRLS.com for local workshops. Thanks.